Hello, hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar series called The Experts Speak in association with IABAC, the International Association for Business Analytics Certification. Our speaker for today is Mr. Kalyan Sivasailam, and the topic he'll be presenting today is using the power of AI to help us move towards precision medicine. Let me give you a brief introduction of our speaker for today. Mr. Kalyan is a founder of 5C Networks, which is India's largest online diagnostics platform. He's an alumni of NPS Indranagar, Bangalore, and NITK Surathkal, and he has a postgraduate diploma in intellectual property rights from NLISU SIU Bangalore. He's listed under the Forbes 30 under 30 in Asia and India as well. And he's also won the Social Entrepreneur of the Year and a finalist in the Namma Bangalore Awards in 2020. Without further ado, over to.
Hello, am I audible? Hi Ram, am I audible?
Yeah, yep.
Great. Hi everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, watching from wherever you are. First of all, Ram, thank you so much for the opportunity for speaking about a topic that I'm deeply, deeply passionate about. Thank you to the IABAC and all affiliates for giving me this opportunity. Hopefully we could have a really interesting and a fun discussion on what I believe could be the most important technological intervention of this century. Let me give you some context about why I think that technology is so important in healthcare. And I will speak very much from my perspective, as an Indian entrepreneur. India today is a 2.9 trillion economy, and there's a lot of clamor in the country about how India is going to become a 5 trillion economy, and then 10, and then on and on and on. And today, India spends approximately 2.9% of its GDP on healthcare. And, it is, I think, a well understood fact that if India ever has to spend 17, 18% of its GDP on healthcare like the US is doing, it will basically lead to bankruptcy of the country. And the only way to keep healthcare costs down while still improving patient outcomes, which is the single most important thing that a health system can do, is through technology. And that is, you can think of it as a fundamental reason, of why I started 5C Network. So I'm just going to, with that, brief context, I'm just going to share my screen. Ram, I don't have a screen share access. Could I quickly get it?
Jasir?
Yes, I think I'm good now.
Okay.
Just a second, folks. Yes. Is my screen visible? It should be saying how AI can lead us to precision medicine, perspective of an enterprise practitioner and believer.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Ram, I think, with your permission, let me get started. Awesome.
Sure,
so,
Kalyan, all yours.
Again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. I'm Kalyan, and I'm going to get started on what I think is an unbelievably fascinating topic, how AI can lead us to what is called precision medicine. A lot of this talk is going to be about defining some of these words. I'm going to talk very deeply about what precision medicine is. I'm going to talk about why it's important, what is the current state of affairs, and how artificial intelligence could help us take at least a step closer into reaching precision medicine, which is almost like a holy grail in today's world. And I've titled this talk "Perspectives of an Enterprise, a Practitioner, and a Believer" because I come from that perspective. I run an enterprise called 5C Network. I'm a practitioner of AI. 5C is the leading radiology AI company in India. And more than anything, I am a believer. I really believe in the power of technology and the ability for technology to take us to hallowed grounds and help us solve problems hitherto unsolvable. This is a slide that usually my marketing team likes me to put up. But broadly, guys, as Ram had already said, I'm an engineer by training, a lawyer by interest, and an entrepreneur by passion and profession. I started 5C Network towards the end of 2016, in the beginning of 2017, with the idea of helping change and improve patient outcomes for the better. And the story behind it was also interesting. My then colleague and now co-founder Syed was actually admitted into a large hospital in Bangalore, and he had taken an MRI scan. And the report for that MRI scan took over 2 days to come in. And Syed and I realized that in the center of Bangalore, which is one of the fastest growing, most cosmopolitan, metropolitan cities in the country and in the world today, if this was an issue, then everywhere else it would be a problem. And so we sought out to solve the problem of inaccurate and slow diagnosis across India. And it's been a fantastic ride. So what you need to know about me is nothing on this slide. But like I said, what you need to know about me is that I run an enterprise. I'm a practitioner of the technologies that I'm going to talk to you about. And I'm a believer in the power of technology to change healthcare outcomes. Some disclaimers. Precision medicine is an unbelievably large topic. And so I can never cover everything. There is so much to say about this topic that, really honestly, nothing I can say can really do justice. So I encourage all of you, if you find what I say interesting, to read more about it. I'm happy to chat, over email or LinkedIn or whatever it is. But this is just literally the tip of the iceberg that I hope I can expose you to. The second disclaimer is my thoughts and my ideas are very, very, very heavily influenced by my exposure to radiology in India and diagnostics in India, which is the background that I come from. And finally, I hope some of you would appreciate this. This talk is not going to be very technical. So I'm not going to be talking about numbers of hidden layers. I'm not going to be talking about, sensitivity, specificity, area under curve, receiver operating characteristics. I'm not going to be talking about that stuff, right? It is my belief that, I want to let all of you know what precision medicine is and why it is so important and why I think it is the wave of the future and AI's role in it. The technical ideas, the details of how AI is going to be practically applied are just honestly matters of detail. So this is not going to be a technical discussion. I will not be going into too many numbers, but I will definitely give you guys concrete examples about precision medicine, what precision medicine is, and what AI does. Very briefly about 5C Network. Our vision and mission is to help doctors and patients make better decisions in difficult times. And the most difficult time for patients is when they don't know what's wrong with them. Doctors are telling them, hey, something is wrong with you, but I need you to get a scan and go inside this machine that's going to make a lot of noise. Hopefully we'll find out what exactly is wrong. Right. So, with the background that you guys know about how and why we started 5C, Syed, my co-founder, and I decided that our mission and vision should be that we want to help doctors and patients make better decisions and help them reach better outcomes in difficult times. And how we are doing this is by building the world's largest AI-powered online diagnostic platform. Today, 5C Network is connected to over 1,500 hospitals and diagnostic centers across the country in India, in 27 states. We work with over 400 radiologists in India on a daily basis. And we report over 150,000 cases every month from across the country. So this is the kind of scale and the kind of scope that we're looking at. And so, as you can imagine, we have tons and tons and tons of radiology data. And we also work with some of India's and the world's leading AI providers, along with our in-house team. And today we are the largest deployer of medical AI in radiology in the country. Over 2,000 reports are AI-read and AI-led on a daily basis. So this is what I would call the authority that I have in this space, to give you guys an idea about what 5C does, and the fact that, we do so much, and I do have a bit of authority to be speaking on the subject. Just the last bit about 5C. We have 4 AI algorithms already live and running on the 5C Network platform. The first is called CAL. CAL is an algorithm that allows you to detect fractures in hand X-rays. And this is a big problem because fractures are minute, lines in a large X-ray, which radiologists tend to miss out quite a bit. And CAL helps us greatly improve their accuracy. I'm really excited to tell you that we're now moving this from just beyond hand X-rays to all extremities X-rays. Charles is our chest scan, and Charles works on both X-rays and CT scans. For X-rays, it's a pre-diagnosed report that is just available to a radiologist to approve or change. It's a completely pre-filled written report. That is the level to which we have been able to train this AI and be able to get accuracy. And we are also now we have worked already on a COVID-19 detection algorithm where we already detect CT severity scores and make it available to the radiologist to approve. Cerebro helps us identify brain bleeds and is one of the main reasons why many hospitals, especially on highways, want to work with 5C, because using Cerebro, if there is a bleed in a brain CT scan, we are able to deliver a result in less than 15 minutes, which significantly allows them to improve ultimate patient outcomes. And finally, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, Bacon is our disease incidence AI. And what Bacon does is currently works with Cerebro to detect conditions that look like bleeds but are not bleeds, and then flag them back to radiologists. And this actually reduces medical and surgical intervention. And I'll talk a little bit more about a live example of how Bacon has helped us deliver, to some extent, precision medicine. Right? So let's kick off, guys. You know about me, you know about 5C Network and some of the wonderful work that the team at 5C is doing. Now let's get to the topic, right? And I'm going to start with, obviously, what is precision medicine? But even before that, I want to start with two things. One is Francis Peabody, a very famous physician in the 1920s, actually said something that I found very, very profound, which is that the secret of care of the patient is caring for the patient. And why I found this so profound and why I found this, this so insightful was simply that, as a person trying to build, a large tech startup in data and diagnostics, I've always looked at patients as scans. I've always looked at patients as images. I've always looked at patients as symptoms, as a case, as a mystery, as a puzzle. Right. Very similar to almost like what Dr. House would be doing. Right. You just abstract so much of, the individual parts of the patient and just look at the core data points and what we know. But something, so important and so fundamental to healthcare is that the secret of care of the patient is caring for the patient. And I think this is the foundation of precision medicine, as I will try to define it for you. But to help you guys really understand precision medicine, right? I actually want to tell you what is not precision medicine, which is what the case is in today's world, right? And I want to talk to you about the form of medicine that is prevalent in today's world, which I like to call, and there are many names for this, but I like to call it mass medicine. The disclaimer is obviously that this very specifically applies to allopathic Western medicine as we know it today, right? But the medicine that we practice today is what I call mass medicine. And I'm actually going to give you 4 very interesting examples to really tell you what mass medicine is. And a very simple way to understand precision medicine is that it is everything that mass medicine is not, right? So let me start with, this first really interesting example. In 2017, if you look at the data, there was a massive spike in the number of hypertension and high blood pressure cases in the United States. And I remember reading a few articles about this. I remember reading that, hey, there is this hypertension epidemic in the United States, and it's linked to fast food, it's linked to bad work-life balance, it's linked to new age lifestyles, it's linked to all these things that were not there in the 1950s and the 1960s. Turns out that something else happened in 2017, right? In 2017, the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology worked together, and they actually changed the definition of high blood pressure. And this meant that year, 30 million more people were diagnosed with high BP. And they had to take medication. They had to take, all kinds of, they had to have all kinds of interventions. And can you imagine the stress? Ironically, can you imagine the stress that something like this would have caused somebody who thought that they were completely fine, right? So here is a template of what we believe is right. And we are trying to fit a massive population into a cohort, which is just completely against common sense. But this happened, in the largest economy in the world, driven by some of the smartest people in the world, right? So this is point one. It's a really interesting example of, what the hell happened and why did something like this happen. But it is a symptom of the practice of mass medicine. Point number two that I want to bring it, right? In India, the average time that a doctor spends with a patient is 3.5 minutes, right? In the US, it is 7 minutes. And in Japan, according to figures that I was able to get, in Japan and South Korea, it's less than 3 minutes, right? So what's really happening? If you go to a doctor, right, and you say, hey, doc, I have, these symptoms and I have these issues, the doctor is actually just trying to pattern match at scale and just fit you into the bucket that will give them a diagnosis without even considering your unique circumstances. And that's just the way corporate medicine works today, right? More patients means less time per patient. And therefore, you are just the first few symptoms that you tell the doctor. And so the doctor then kind of pattern matches and puts you into a bucket and then just says that, hey, you are in this bucket and this is the treatment that I'm going to prescribe you. They are treating your symptoms, or rather, they're understanding of your symptoms, and they're never actually treating you. Again, a symptom of the practice of mass medicine. I'll give you another really, really interesting case, right? There's this thing called PSA. It's called prostate-specific antigen. And detecting higher levels of PSA is an indicator of prostate cancer. And so, in the United States, there was this was in the late 90s. There was this huge, drive of, prostate cancer is obviously a big killer in males. And so what we need to do is we need to test PSA levels for a huge amount of the population. And so I'm just going to give you some stats that I've compiled, and some of this is available in obviously in the net. Over the course of, I think this was on a bi-yearly basis, 30 million people, 30 million males were screened for high levels of PSA. 6 million males had elevated PSA. 1 million of them underwent a prostate biopsy, and 180,000 of them got a diagnosis of prostate cancer, right? What this didn't tell is that another 180 to 200,000 people who had prostate cancer was completely missed, right? And here's the interesting part, right? Forget all the figures I just gave you. The most interesting part of this is that most prostate cancers are non-threatening cancers, right? They do not take away your life. And so essentially, if you boil this down, with all this screening, what was the end outcome? 1 prostate cancer death was avoided for every 1,000 screenings. And if you then take into consideration false positives, let me tell you what that figure looks like. A man is now 40 to 80 times more likely to have an unnecessary radiation therapy or a surgery than to have his life saved by detecting prostate cancer. That is how bad this turned out to be, right? And again, this is just a symptom of mass medicine. People who have elevated PSAs must be screened and therefore taken into a separate bucket. And finally, I'll give you another final example. I hope you guys are enjoying this. For me, it's unbelievably fascinating. This is like, world history for me. Thyroid cancer in South Korea. So in 1999, South Korea had this massive national screening program for cancer. And as you guys know, it's a well-to-do country, and almost, everybody is covered with insurance and copay. And so there was a huge number of people who were eligible for this cancer screening. And one of the tests that was there in this cancer screening was a ultrasound of your thyroid, right? So by 2010, which is 10 years after the program started, the incidence of thyroid cancer in South Korea was up 1,500%. It was up 1,600%. It was up 15x, right? And again, here is the interesting part. there was no change in outcomes and there was no change in mortality. In fact, there are a lot of studies to show that there was a change in mortality for the worse, because people who were, who got detected with thyroid cancer had to go through unnecessary procedures and huge amount of radiation for for a cancer that proved to be unbelievably benign in almost all cases. Right. So here is what mass medicine is. It's a combination of obvious symptoms, standard tests, and common drugs. Right. Medicine has gone the same way that shoemaking has gone. Right. In the 1800s, if you had to get a shoe, it had to be customized to your foot. Today, you just go anywhere and get a shoe for whatever size your foot is on. However, medicine unfortunately went the same route. Instead of really personalizing medicine, it just became one size fits all. And this is what I call mass medicine. And so what I want you guys to take away from this is that mass medicine is this way of practicing medicine that buckets large cohorts of people in a relatively small number of buckets and tries to force fit treatments for all these cohorts, hoping for significantly better outcomes. I think it has been proven that those significantly better outcomes are not the case. So what is precision medicine, right? In all my thoughts and in trying to fit it down for you guys, I've actually come up with the definition. So in my opinion, precision medicine is truly personalized medicine on a one-to-one level, using all the data available to us and making a tailor-made medicine plan. And when I say medicine plan, I don't mean medication, an end-to-end medicine plan, right? So let me give you an idea of this. So imagine a workflow where everything that you eat, everything that you drink, right, which is your nutrition, and even your medication is completely tailored to your body and your unique circumstances, which is your environment, your lifestyle, even your goals and aspirations, right? That is what precision medicine is. And the interesting part, and the conundrum that we will now be talking about is that precision medicine is so hard because we are expecting, the efficiency and the predictability of a high quality manufacturing process and an assembly line, with the bespoke nature of a tailored suit, right? And on one hand, one is incredibly fast and completely process driven, but completely unpersonalized. The tailored suit takes time and effort and dedicated commitment, and therefore cannot be scaled. But considering the kind of healthcare outcomes that we need to reach, you need both, right? And precision medicine is like the tailored suit. So what can help us, personalize medicine for 7 billion plus people? The answer is probably AI. And I'll talk a little bit about how I think that, that is possible. But before we really come to AI, right, let's talk about and let's think through the stack of precision medicine, right? So like I said, precision medicine is basically personalized and individualized treatment for each and every citizen of this earth. And to get there, I would say that there are 4 stages, right? And the final stage is, very rare and obviously very expensive today, but we are getting there slowly. So at the bottom of the precision medicine stack is mass medicine knowledge. This is everything that doctors are taught and everything that we are taught in, in school and in our colleges and in our universities about what we know about the human body and about medicine. Above this, there is some more detailing that you can get about. So just to give you some context on the mass medicine knowledge piece, right? You know about the heart. Everybody's heart pretty much works in the same way. Everybody's liver pretty much works in the same way. And everybody's kidneys pretty much works in the same way. So this is the mass medicine knowledge. But to really know a patient, you need to know a little bit more about them than the fact that they have a liver or a kidney or a heart, right? You need to know their patient history. You need to know their detailed medical history. You need to know the environment that they stay in, the conditions that they are subjected to, the lifestyle that they have, because all this has such an important role in helping people truly understand what is wrong with them. On top of this is personalized diagnostics, right? This is where, stuff like pathology and biochemistry and radiology comes in, where you can look at each person's individual, health parameters and come up with an answer as to what exactly is wrong with them. And finally, and this is where precision medicine really takes off, is really understanding the individual genome, right? So, Kalyan's genome is going to be different from Ram's genome, is going to be different from XYZ's genome, right? But there is a common human genome. And today, AI allows us to actually read a human genome and actually figure out differences and even, potentially tell us what kind of problems are caused by the changes in our individual genomes. So this is what the precision medicine stack really is, right? And the higher you go, the closer you get to know about a patient. So just look at what happens, when a doctor consults with you. There's mass medicine knowledge. So he or she knows about, medicine, and that's why they are a doctor. And then they ask you about, a little bit about your patient history and stuff like that, but they don't have enough time. And so that's it, right? With limited information and mass medicine knowledge, they are making a guess as to what your problem could be. But precision medicine involves detailed patient history and an understanding, detailed diagnosis, and potentially even understanding each person's genome. So this is how, precision medicine can evolve, and technology is going to take us there. And so let's go towards that, right? What is the role of AI in precision medicine, right? And I'm not going to define the term artificial intelligence. You guys already know it. It is the buzzword of at least the last decade. But let's talk really about a couple of interesting, what I would call examples of AI's role in delivering precision medicine. And I'll start with one personal example from 5C network that was flagged to us. So 5C network, as you guys know now, is pretty much in every state in India. And we diagnose tons and tons of patients on a daily basis. And so there was this really, really interesting case that we had gotten from a state called Uttar Pradesh. And the state is in the north of India. And Uttar Pradesh is a very large state. And in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, there is a significantly high incidence of a disease called neurocystic NCC. And NCC happens because people in the eastern part of UP are, you could say, a little less well-to-do than other parts. And so they eat a lot of uncooked pork, right? Or poorly cooked pork. And what happens is that the pork has tapeworms, and these tapeworms basically go to your brain and, start, digging in slowly. And so this is called neurocystic. So there was this really interesting case that we had gotten. Right. And it was of a girl who was riding her cycle and had fallen and hurt her head. And so she had gone to one of, our diagnostic center partners, and she had said that, I fell off my bike and I hurt my head. I have a head injury. And so the diagnostic center sent it to us with the history saying that, there's a girl who's fallen from her bike and injured her head. But what was really interesting was that, we started by now, we had already built in Bacon, which basically looks at disease incidences across the country and tries to correlate that with potential findings in a radiology study. And so what we saw, right, was that we saw this brain scan with a bunch of dots, right? And the radiologist was from our side who was looking at it would have said, hey, this looks like a concussion. But our algorithm actually flagged to the radiologist saying that, hey, because this case is in the eastern part of UP, and because it is so prevalent there, and because you have used the term, calcified foci, which is a standard term that usually comes up in neurocystic, please check for NCC. And the doctor was really surprised. But the doctor said, hey, this is really interesting. Let me go and speak to the diagnostic center. So we spoke to the diagnostic center, and, then the diagnostic center connected us to the patient, and the patient said something really interesting. So she said, hey, I didn't fall and hurt my head. I was riding and I blacked out and I fell. And that changed everything. So now if you look at, the precision medicine stack, we went beyond, just mass knowledge. We now got the detailed patient history. We spoke to, the girl about what kind of food she eats, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also had the CT scan done. And so we came at least to 3 levels of the precision medicine stack, and we diagnosed the patient with neurocystic, which turned out to be the right diagnosis. And here's the thing. If you diagnose a patient with neurocystic, the solution to the problem is just one tablet, an anti-Helminth tablet, and you're done. However, if we had diagnosed the patient, as a concussion case, we would have to be on wait and watch protocol. NCC would never have been diagnosed. And then she would start having severe strokes 1 to 2 years because the tapeworm would have caused significant damage in her brain. So this is just one example of how AI on 5C itself had a massive role to play in getting to some level, right? Some level of precision medicine. There's another really, really, really interesting example that I want to give you guys that I made a note of. If you could just give me 10 seconds, let me pull that out. It's a beautiful case that proves the power of precision medicine and AI. And it's from Dr. Eric Topol's book called Deep Medicine. And I'm just going to summarize the case for you guys. Right? There was this newborn baby who was brought into the emergency room in his 8th day of life. And the baby had constant seizures. So they did a CT scan, nothing came up. They did an EEG, and what the EEG showed was continuous signals of seizure, right? And this was very poor prognosis for the baby. It was an 8-day-old baby with continuous seizures. So you can imagine the prognosis, for life and for, brain damage. It was very poor. But what happened was, thankfully, because this baby was a well-to-do baby in a very good hospital in the United States, a blood sample was taken and sent to a genomics lab. And then in basically a few hours, the genomics lab had generated 125 GB, genomic genome for this baby, right? And basically, this had detected 5 million locations where this young boy's genome was different from the most common one, right? Out of these 5 million genetic variations, using AI and natural language processing, because all these, DNAs are just strings, right? 700K rare, genome types were identified, out of which 962 were further identified to be able to give to be able to generate rare disorders, right? And after going through it again using AI, they found an abnormality in a gene called ALDH7A1. A single abnormality in a single gene in an 8-day-old boy's genome, right? And they also identified that this can be solved simply using dietary supplements with vitamin B6 and a couple of amino acids. 36 hours later, the baby is completely fine and going home, right? If you did not have precision medicine for such a case, that baby would be, a lost cause. And because we were able to go all the way up in the precision medicine stack, obviously mass knowledge of medicine, detailed patient history. Luckily, in this case, the baby had no history. The baby was 8 days old. A very clear personalized diagnosis and the individual genome itself being used to deliver exactly what is needed for that baby, right? An unbelievable story about, the true power of what AI can do. And of what AI can do and what precision medicine can honestly do. So I'm actually pretty much done, guys. I mean, this is what I think we can, what's going to happen. But I'm going to end with a couple of slides on how I think we should think about AI and how we should think about AI in precision medicine. So here's a very generic list. It's half in jest, but here is what, generally people, the lay people like us, expect AI to really do. We expect it to outperform all doctors. We expect it to cure cancer and cure AIDS, in the near future. We expect it to diagnose the undiagnosable, treat the untreatable, discover the undiscoverable, see the unseeable, and eliminate all healthcare efficiency. And this is what we think AI can really, we expect AI to do. But I'm sorry to burst your bubble, guys, but AI is not, the silver bullet, the panacea, the answer to every single one of our problems. But it can be used to deliver precision medicine in ways that are slightly indirect, but still very valuable. And I'll give you guys an example, again, using the stack. So we know that, we want doctors to spend more time with patients, because the time that doctors spend with patients or understanding history or correlating history with diagnosis is much more valuable than the time they would, take instead of doing, data analysis or data entry or something like that. So let me give you an example again from radiology. So if there is a spine MRI, radiologists are expected to measure canal diameters and put it up. And this is not something that requires a lot of skill. It's something that even a layperson like me can do, right? And do it to a very high level of accuracy. It is not worth a medical expert's time, but radiologists have to, measure for every canal diameter. They have to put it up, and it's it takes 3-4 minutes every single time it happens. What if AI can just automate all this stuff and allow radiologists to spend more time thinking about the correlation between detailed patient history and the diagnosis that they're coming up with, allow them to speak to referring physicians and tell them about, hey, I am diagnosing this. Tell me more about the patient. These are the AI can do so much of the basic heavy lifting that, specialists can simply focus on things that add more value in order for us to deliver precision medicine. Remember, guys, in the end, we need doctors to spend more time with patients. Right? Even in the case of the individual genome that I had given you guys, it only happened because there was a doctor who was able to spend enough time, with this 8-day-old boy and actually figure out what the issue was. In the end, medical professionals' time is the most important thing. And AI, contrary to being, the solution for everything, can not only help in, natural language processing and identifying individual genomes and helping process it. It can even help with allowing doctors to do more intellectual tasks while AI takes a lot of the basic things into consideration, right? And so what is AI's role in precision medicine, right? Help doctors spend more time on the patient and with the patient so that they can deliver a bespoke diagnosis or a service every single time. The second thing, make pivotal information points available to everybody. In the case that I had described to you guys, neurocystic the fact that neurocystic is prevalent in Eastern UP was not known to any doctor. It is something that the AI kind of brought to the surface and made available. And that changed the game completely. Hyper-personalized treatment using genomic data, as I just told you guys. And of course, deliver detailed insights to move care from reactional to preventive. Now imagine, 10 years down the line, you go to a diagnostic center, you get all your bloods, you get your genetic test, and you get a full body MRI. Probably with this data, we will actually be able to tell you what's going to happen to you, at least at a healthcare level, for the next 10 to 15 years, right? And so precision medicine is not just about personalized treatment. It can also be about personalized prevention. And I think that is the ultimate power that AI can bring, which is not just helping precision medicine in personalized treatment, but simply shifting the role of medicine from a reactional process as it is today to a preventive one, which could save billions of lives, billions and trillions of dollars, which I believe, is obviously so important. And so, guys, this is, my basic talk of the role for AI in precision medicine. I thought I'd keep this, interactive. I'm really excited to hear from all of you on what you thought. If you guys have any questions, and I will do my best to answer them however I can. Yeah. Ram, hope I was on time, yeah?
Hey, thank you so much, Kalyan. Honestly, your passion and enthusiasm is very infectious. I hope it rubs on to many of the folks who actually are on the discussion here right now. Mm-hmm. And thank you so much. That real world examples are what actually it really matters to see how it goes. But then, thank you so much. I'll just try to see if I can rope in a few questions of what we have with a few people here. The first one is from Jennifer. She says, how can AI help in the education of medical professionals to know what to look for before the disease is showing symptoms? I think this is one of the bigger challenges, Kalyan, because when I meet people in the medical profession, now that AI has penetrated much more into the healthcare domain, I can sense a few, jittery folks from the healthcare industry for, thinking like, AI could supersede their, diagnostic minds yeah. And is there any way actually, because, the medical professional doesn't have any of the ideas of, how data should be assimilated and, interpreted. Can you throw some light on that?
Sure. I think Jennifer, thanks for that question. Very interesting, deep question. I'll try to, really answer it as much as I can. And your question is, how can AI help in the education of medical professionals to know what to look for before a disease is showing symptoms? So this is, I'll give an example of an ideal scenario, obviously, right? Let us assume that the longitudinal patient record exists, because if that doesn't exist, it is almost impossible. But let us assume that multiple patients have multiple longitudinal records, and it is available in a centralized way for somebody to look at and actually do analysis on. What AI can do is start looking at a huge number of longitudinal records and start finding out patterns of people who had, let us say, the similar disease. So let's say a patient had, let us say a bunch of patients had a stroke at the age of 50, right? But you want to see whether you can predict that, hey, you may be at risk of stroke at age 50. I want to tell you that when you're 45. AI can possibly help do that if we have longitudinal patient records. So I think that this is something that is very much possible in a predictive sense. And that's what I ended my talk with, right? That if you're able to get all this data and assimilate it, AI could help change diagnosis treatment and precision medicine from something that is reactive to something that is preventive. The key aspect also here, Jennifer, is that we would definitely need the longitudinal patient record, but it's already coming up. Like, for example, in India, something called the National Digital Health Mission is coming up, and digital patient records for individuals are now being completely digitized and stored longitudinally. And so hopefully this should be possible. And there is a massive use case for it, for sure. Some interesting companies are already doing something on it. You can check out Innovacer, who is actually building some stuff on this. So Jennifer, I hope that answers your question. Maybe Ram, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Gerard, I think Gerard was asking, what are the challenges ahead for precision medicine to be perfect using AI? Gerard, I think the challenge, first of all, starts with perfection is a journey and not a destination, right? There is going to be no process ever that can ever give you 100% accuracy. But I'll try to answer your question, with maybe some benchmark. Let's say, what are the challenges ahead for precision medicine to be, 99% accurate using AI? I think that one is quality of data is really, really important and paramount. So the quality of data that you collect is everything for AI. And I think that is a fundamentally important challenge. Many really good AI technologies fail in today's world simply because, not because they have bad technology. On the contrary side, they have incredible technology chops. They have very poor inside data, and garbage in is garbage out in AI. So I think that is a significantly large challenge. I think another challenge, honestly, Gerard, is patient mindset. And I'll give you a really interesting example. And Siddhartha Mukherjee, Dr. Siddhartha Mukherjee at Columbia, talks about this in his mind-blowingly fascinating book, The Gene. And so he speaks about BRCA, right? Which is this breast cancer, the test that allows you to check whether you are, susceptible to breast cancer. And he says that there are people who are now called previvors, who are constantly living in the shadow of potentially getting breast cancer at some point in time. And that changes the way they live life. And so, do we really want to live like that is another really important question that we should be asking ourselves. Slightly philosophical, Gerard, sorry for going there, but I do see it as a challenge. Some patients may just say, you know what, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm okay with whatever it is that we are doing today. So I think that these are two challenges, many more, but I think that these are two of the significantly large challenges. Krish is saying, can we be able to predict future patients using AI? Krish, you don't even need AI. Like I said, with BRCA, you can predict future patients of breast cancer actually using AI, because a lot of genomics does use natural language processing and AI. But yes, you can predict future patients using AI. And the whole point of precision medicine is that once we have enough data about a patient, we will be able to predict that this patient would be at a significant risk for a stroke or a heart attack, or whatever it is. And we will be able to take preventive action. So yes, the hope is that precision medicine and AI will be able to predict future patients. I think Chloe is asking, what is the accuracy of medicine precision using AI? Chloe, I didn't understand your question. The accuracy of medicine precision.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try to answer it with at least what I understand is the question. Today, AI is approximately 80% accurate in what it says, significantly worse than what a doctor does, but it is improving. However, a doctor is only 93, 94% accurate. A doctor plus AI is close to 98 to 99% accurate. So maybe you should look at it. I hope that answers your question in some way.
Yeah. I think that's more or less what she asked, I guess. But yeah, that it's nice to know that, the last part where you said AI plus the doctor, the accuracy significantly goes, up to 98%, because it augments the doctor's effort rather than, replacing or, supplanting the professionals themselves. So that's one of the bigger challenges. I have a question for you myself.
Go ahead.
Kalyan. In India, you took the example of the densely populated state like UP, and when you look at precision medicine, like in its infancy where it is right now, what are the challenges you see, where the rural and the most remote places of India, which requires if in case you say equipment for scanning and other things, do you think, what is the kind of models like people look at, like creating a hub somewhere where people or mobile scanning equipments where they can go to the most remote places and look for patients and cover their health? What are the challenges you see, at least?
I think I mean the challenges are the things that you already pointed out, Ram. That highly dense population, significant incidence of many diseases, poor public health infrastructure, and expensive capital to be able to set up diagnostics. But India is on the upswing. Per capita is improving. Affordability is also becoming better for many people across the country. And so for me, I think it's not so much of a challenge now, Ram, as an opportunity. It's a challenge if, the chances of you not succeeding are very high. But if the chance of you succeeding over that obstacle is high, it's not a challenge anymore. It's an opportunity. And I think the opportunities now are, there'll be a huge amount of wealth and money to be made in setting up high quality diagnostics in many places like UP in India, like large and populous states in India. There'll be a large amount of, money to be made in, building better healthcare infrastructure for a massive population. I mean, the population of UP is significantly larger than the population of many countries. Right. So I just look at this actually as just huge opportunities for India. The challenges are going to be there. And since you asked about challenges, I would say that the biggest challenge, right, is going to be still data standardization. If you want to, and talking about challenges from the perspective of preventive medicine, I don't think that we will get to data standardization and genomic testing in some of the interior areas of the country. I don't see that happening. What I do see happening is at least getting to some level of precision medicine, through stuff like what 5C is already doing, right? Like using disease burdens to kind of understand a bit more about local environments and local livelihoods and local situations, and being able to deliver a diagnosis that makes more sense given that context. So I think that's already going to happen. Definitely to get to a genomic testing level, and truly deeply personalized medicine, I think will take longer.
Correct. Thanks, Kalyan. We have a last question. It's a little technical from Zakir. asking the kind of algorithms we use for the model which is used in precision medicine?
So I think that Zakir, I think your questions, I'm not understanding it clearly. What are the algorithms used for prediction? I can give you an understanding of, let us say, what we do to detect uh, a brain bleed, let us say, right? So we use the core of what we do is built on this paradigm called YOLO, which is called you only look once. You can check it out. There's a huge amount of documentation on how to implement YOLO, which is a paradigm for AI in detection. But since you use the word, what are the algorithms used for prediction? Prediction is usually having enough data and just running any kind of regression, right? It's usually a multivariate regression. But the important thing is to understand what are those variables that help you understand what the outcome could be. I hope that answers your question. And I think there's one more from Abu Bakr. India and many African countries face similar challenges. Where would one start when exploring the option of introducing AI vis-a-vis precision medicine in developing African countries? I would say that Abu, absolutely, huge number of similarities in terms of challenges that are faced in these countries. Where would one start when exploring the option of introducing AI? I would definitely say introducing AI should be started at a disease detection level, and only then can you go to a precision medicine level. So, for example, a good place to start would be developing AI that can help radiologists accurately diagnose certain diseases based on some data that you feed it. So, for example, Abu, if you say that, hey, I don't know, in South Africa, this kind of pneumonia is more common, and if that is fed into your algorithms, then the next time a radiologist is predicting something else, the algorithm could say, hey, actually, because of the disease incidence of this in South Africa, there are, the chance of this being this particular type of pneumonia is much higher. So I think that would be a good way to start, actually using AI on precision medicine. And most importantly, Abu, don't think about precision medicine as, fully personalized medicine. You should be thinking about precision medicine as fully personalized medicine, but don't think that AI will directly help medicine become precision medicine. Think about AI as an enabler that lifts a lot of weight for doctors, that allows them to spend more time on the patient and therefore make medicine precision medicine. So you should be looking at any AI technology that allows your doctors to eliminate manual or mundane work and allows them to focus on patients and their history and their situations and their specifics for that case, and then take a decision. So I would say that would be the best way to go.
Thank you so much, Kalyan. And I think it's been wonderful, and thank you for taking your time out to present your thoughts, and it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And once again, thanks everybody for joining in, and we'll see you soon, and we'll keep you posted on the upcoming sessions, and hopefully this session has given you a lot of food for thought to see what the future of AI holds in the field of precision medicine. Again, thank you so much, Kalyan, and I'll keep in touch, and we'll keep in informed, what we'll be presenting for the upcoming webinar series. Thank you so much, appreciate it, and everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you all soon.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Ram, for having me, and thank you to the IABAC again for this opportunity. Have a good one, guys.
You're welcome, Kalyan.